Hey folks, Generic GM here again with the summary of Chapter 2, Episode 7, Downfall. Ode to you since the original had no sound. So, as we start, thick fog hangs heavy in the air, obscuring the area around us so that the world appears to have shrunk to only 20 feet in all directions. Before the raft, the waterway widens and the current slows, giving the impression that the party have sort of entered a lake. Croaking voices penetrate the fog, through which dark shapes appear, resolving into a rowboat. Aboard are 4 bullywugs, or frog-like humanoids, enjoying a boat ride on the lake, chatting about the upcoming delivery of eggs. All 4 are dressed in soiled garb, typical of the members of the Soggy Court. And in Croaken Sylvan, which we now know all the characters understand, they say, "Welcome to Downfall, travelers." The Bullywugs explain that their king, Gullop the 19th, would be honored to make the characters' acquaintance. And they suggest that the characters head to the small dock nearby, then make their way across the stepping stones, through the balloon factory, across the bridge of Chattering Heads to the gazebo where the king holds court. Tavaren learns with a bit of a fright that the current king has only held his seat for a brief time, as violent coups are a local sport. But he is assured by the Earl of Stinkwater that traveling monarchs are exempt from sudden but inevitable betrayals. As the group paddles forward, the lake fully opens up, but their visibility is still just as impaired. Sounds of discourse, song, and croaking betrays the presence of other unseen bullywug further across the water. As the group paddles forward, the lake... They tied down at the small pier as suggested. There, looming above a ramshackle wooden pier, is a balloon anchored by 4 thick ropes tied around wooden posts, driven deep into the mire. The balloon's bladder expands and sags at irregular intervals as swamp gas fills it briefly before leaking out of various tears in its patchwork fabric. A bullywug stands near the top of a ladder and is using a long silver needle and a spool of catgut to sew up one of the openings. A second, standing at the foot of the ladder to keep it steady. Huddled nearby are 3 giant frogs whose long tongues snap up at passing insects. The group asks questions about where they are and what to do, but any question posed is immediately answered by "the king will know." The bullywug holding the ladder points north to indicate the path to follow, causing his partners to stumble. As the party leaves, we hear a heavy splash, followed by another, as the ladder holding one dives in to rescue his partner. We then come to a row of boulders, spaced 2 feet apart, breaching the surface of the lake to form a walking path across a 40-foot wide waterway. The fact that the other side is still obscured doesn't do much to reassure the group, and Plum volunteers to go first. But a fabulously timed natural one lands him in the water, the barely 4 feet of water being enough for him to not have any footing. Our heroes decide there and then that the stones are too slippery and to take the outside path in crossing this waterway. Tall Tavaren, having scooped up Plum onto his back, decides to wade through, and Ysdred summons her mount Nixie to ride to the other side. Unfortunately, the churned waters attract the attention of a pair of Marrow, the same from the vision, who then attack. Some blood is spilt, but a clever use of Tasha's hideous laughter by Anna allows the group to flee onto solid ground. out of reach, and the mare disperse into the water. The group then moves onto a wooden structure, standing on stilts above the lake. It is topped by a steep, conical roof made of thatch. Smoke curls up from a hole at its apex. Its windows are blacked out, and the air carries the smell of burnt wood. They can also see a clothesline attached to one of the corners of the building exterior, angled up towards the center of the lake. It is hung with a variety of frayed and patchwork garments. From inside, they hear calls for help, and again, the same croaking Sylvan. Inside, they find yet another bullywug holding a bucket of water, trying to douse a number of embers that seem to be glowing on the cabin's floor. When the party try to extinguish them using magic and cantrips, not only do the embers resist the effect, but spring to life and start rolling and running and hopping around the factory. It takes them some time to smash or douse all of the embers, but the effort is worth it when, as they go to leave, the bullywug, Duke Inkrind, hands them a brass brooch shaped as a fly with fluttering wings. It should help win the king's trust, he says. Stepping out from the burned factory, leaving the Duke to clean up, they come to a strange sight. But not unsurprisingly. A wooden bridge, flanked on one side by a multitude of chattering bullywug heads. And sitting in front of them, a small child-sized figure with metal lobster claws for hands and a large gourd for a head. This is where we leave off here. And we would invite you to follow the next video to know what goes on then. This time, I promise, with sound. Thank you for watching. See you then.